We all dream to be legendary.
She is unconscious right now!
To seize the moment.
The biggest shot in Liberty history!
That's just an unbelievable shot.
To stand on top.
WNBA champions! Hell yeah!
We all dream to be next.
Welcome to NBA Today, but on this fine Friday, we start in the W because the playoff picture, it is set, and the regular season award ballots, they have been cast. 2 games on the final night of the regular season on Thursday. Final cases for the MVP were made. The standings, they were decided as well. So we begin with the Valkyries in Minnesota taking on Napheesa Collier and the Lynx in this one. Napheesa entered Thursday shooting 39.2% from 3, just shy of that 50-40-90 club. But in the first quarter here, tied at 6, Courtney Williams to Collier. She knocks down the 3. And then next possession, Collier grabs that loose ball, knocks down the 3. Collier hits back-to-back 3s in the first quarter to push her season average to 40.2. Ramona Shelburne looking good so far. And then Bridget Carlson finds Collier open 3. She hits that one too. She would shoot 3 of 4 from 3, boosting her percentage to 40.3% on the season. Collier is now the second WNBA player to qualify with that 50-40-90 shooting split, and the Lynx, they go on to get the win in this one. And then the other game of the night, I pulled up to this one, A'ja Wilson and the Aces, they went streaking all through Los Angeles here, Ramona. This one got ugly pretty quickly. We're going to pick it up in the third quarter. The Aces up 55-38. Chelsea Gray,
Goodness,
that vision,
that pass.
finds A'ja Wilson.
Rotator comes like that. Jeez.
Going ahead to the fourth quarter now. Just over 3 minutes to go. Aces up big. Wilson, not to be outdone, drains the 3 from the wing.
Oh, yeah, she does that too.
Breaking the WNBA record, 20 made 3s in the game. Aces go up 93-66. And then it's Jackie Young who hits another one. The Aces, they finished with 22 made 3-pointers. That is the most in a regular season game in WNBA history. So that all brings us to this. This is the playoff picture and how it shapes up with the Aces nabbing that 2 seed and a matchup, a tough one, against the Seattle Storm. You got the 4-5 game, the Mercury and the Liberty. They are set up to square off in a really juicy first round matchup here. So it is finally time for the 2025 WNBA Playoffs. Well, we still got a couple of days. They'll start on Sunday officially. We have that slate for you right here on the ESPN family and networks. Just a quick refresher, the best of 3 first round. It is a 1-1-1 format. The higher seed hosting game 1, and then if necessary, a game 3 as well. The semis is the best of 5, 2-2-1 setup. And then that championship series, it has been extended to a best of 7 series that is new this season. But let's hold our horses.
Yeah.
We'll start with the first round here, and we're just going to run through some of these matchups. Does that sound good to you, Ramona?
Yeah.
Let's do it with our Monica McNutt as well, because the top-seeded Lynx, they take on the Valkyries. There is a head-to-head this season. When we take a look at it, the Lynx, they won all 4 regular season meetings, Monica, including last night's game that pushed the Valkyries into this matchup. So, Ms. Monica, what are you going to be watching most closely in this one? It seems like this is the matchup the Lynx wanted.
Yeah, and I think the Valkyries understand the position that they are in. This has been the number 1 seed all season long, but they are about how deeply can we dig. Quite frankly, that is a group that leaned into the chip being on their shoulder. A lot of those players had been fringe in terms of their previous WNBA assignments before getting the opportunity with the Valkyries. And so for them, they're heavily predicated on defense. When you look at what Natalie Nakase has done and brought over from the Aces. Now, it is a tall task to defend the likes of Napheesa Collier, McBride, Courtney Williams. But I think on the other side, when you look at the Lynx, Cheryl Reed is all about precision late in the postseason. And we saw her pull some of her starters in games that still weren't quite decided down the stretch of the regular season. She wasn't tipping her hand at all in terms of the postseason.
All right, so that's going to be the first season matchup between the first round matchup rather between the 1 and the 8 seed. So let's take a look now at the 2-7 matchup. That is going to be between the Aces and the Storm here. So these teams, they split their 4 head-to-head meetings, but 3 of them, they came earlier in the year. That's before the Aces found their groove and reeled off that 16-game winning streak to end the season. Ramona, what are you most excited for here? This one could be tough.
The Aces have just had such a head of steam here, and A'ja Wilson, I know you were up late last night debating your pick.
And early this morning. It's stressful.
And early this morning. But they have just been the team that nobody wants to play here. Yeah. They've beaten everyone in the league. A'ja Wilson, and I was texting with Coach Becky Hammond. I said, okay, make your case. What's the last last case for her. She said, when she gets done, she will be the best player ever. When she gets done, she will be the best player ever. So let's not hold back on flowers, okay, in terms of Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, just the way that they have been playing. But I think in this one, I'm interested to see how Jewel Lloyd plays. She embraced that reserve role, and this is playing against her former team. Hasn't been that great against them in the matchups this year. And here we go, revenge.
I think that's interesting, Ramona, because we talked a lot about the Brittany Sykes trade from the Mystics to Seattle late in the season. But could this be an opportunity where you put the tenacity defensively of a Sykes and a Gabby Williams together, and then you've got the physical and presence inside of Nneka Ogwumike, Dominique Malonga, Ezzie Magmore if you need? Like, could Seattle sort of figure out a formula that could puzzle the Aces?
Right.
I'm curious to see how that goes.
It feels like right now, though, the Aces have all the momentum in the world. As much as you don't want to face the Minnesota Lynx, who've been dominant all year long, I don't know that there's a hotter team in the league right now than the Aces. So let's go to the 3-6 next. We got a lot of matchups to get to, if that's okay. The Fever and the Dream, right? They split their season series. 3 of those 4 games, they came before mid-June. So it's been a while, Monica, since we've seen these two teams and really get a sense of where they're at right now. What do you think is going to dictate this series?
All right, so Malika, when this one was official, I was like, oh, baby. Alicia Gray, Kelsey Mitchell were immediately the matchup that I thought of immediately. In fact, during Countdown earlier this year, Carolyn Peck and I were playing this sort of game of who you taking. And those two are neck and neck this season. But I think in this one, I think about the Fever's ability to play fast and to force teams into turnovers. And then the Dream, when they are settled, their ability to be steady with the basketball. As much as the guard matchup is going to be tantalizing, the inside is going to be really interesting to me when you look at Brianna Jones and Aaliyah Boston, just as an example. But those two guards, for sure, it's going to be showtime. And this one got a little chippy when they met back-to-back in May to start the season.
Also, Atlanta has been one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league, right? Not averaging 9.6 three-point attempts a game compared to 6 last year. In the playoffs, things slowed down. Right. So let's just see how that translates into the postseason.
An incredibly well-coached squad as well. I'm really excited to see what he has up his sleeve for this first-round matchup. I know that you all, though, have one matchup that maybe is circled a little bit above, a little bit spicier than the rest, and that is the Liberty and the Mercury. So Phoenix took 3 of the 4 regular season games. Alyssa Thomas nearly averaged a triple-double.
She does that with everyone, though, right?
That is fair, but maybe there's something personal here, Monica. I don't know. What is it about this series that intrigues you?
Well, the Liberty, yes, they are the defending champs, and they deserve a ton of pressure, or a ton of respect, but they haven't been their best down the stretch, where I think Phoenix is continuing to sort of play better basketball and figure it out. The Alyssa Thomas and the Jonquel Jones matchup is one that I always think of, even when we're on different teams, those two, because one is going to play with a lot more power, the other plays with a little bit more strength and finesse. So I'm looking at this one schematically in terms of how Sandy Rondello helps her Liberty squad put their best ball out on the floor.
I also think that game 1 is pivotal for Phoenix. You got a team that's got home court advantage against the defending champs. There's so much pressure on this one. You lose game 1, now you're going to New York for game 2.
Right. Ooh. And all of a sudden the pressure, maybe it shifts even a little bit. And for New York, you want to be able to go out and say, okay, I am going to set the tone early in this one and remind everyone, despite the way that we are even talking here, we haven't seen the best basketball out of New York yet. Remind everyone that they are, in fact, the defending champs. I know this, though, my friends. The first round, it is going to be fascinating. 4 games Sunday in my sweatpants. Heck yeah, sign me up. Grab the popcorn. But last night, it also closed out what has been an incredibly tight MVP race. So let's talk about the top candidates, shall we? Starting with A'ja Wilson, was the heavy -700 favorite. That's before odds were taken down after leading the league in scoring and blocks per game, while ranking 2nd in boards. She also led the Aces, of course, to that 16-game win streak that was so impressive to end the season. Let's get to Alyssa Thomas. Put together a really special season, a W record 8 triple-doubles. That's twice as many as any other player in WNBA history has had in their career. She also led the Mercury to the 4th seed here. And then, of course, there's Napheesa Collier, who looked to have this award wrapped up. That's before the Aces' late run, as she ranked 2nd in scoring at nearly 23 a game for a Lynx team that has been the best in the W all regular season. Here's what Cheryl Reeves had to say about the race.
It can be revealed now, but it was a goal of ours when we sat down, defeated, knowing that it would be a lofty goal and only been done once before. And that player was MVP of the league. Fee deserves that same recognition, and the numbers don't lie. And I think that's something that voters should look at. It's from start to finish. A 50, 40, 90 is historic. I don't know how long it'll be before it happens again. Nafisa Collier has been the best player in the WNBA this season and deserves MVP.
And has those 50, 40, 90 shooting splits to show for it as well. Look, this is going to be a highly debated MVP race.
Yes.
Alongside maybe 2023. This is going to be one that is going to be talked about for a long time. We just heard what Cheryl Reeve had to say, making her case for Nafisa, who is the best player on the league's best team. And to many voters, that is the definition of the MVP. No argument from me here. But A'ja Wilson, Monica, arguably the best player in the world, and Alyssa Thomas putting up numbers no one has literally ever seen before. You had a vote. How did you decide who should be the WNBA MVP?
I was tormented until 11:59 when things were due. But I think for me, I meant to, first of all, I went to games played, which I think, unfortunately, Fee missed 11 games this year. And that was detrimental, I think, in this race. But then I sort of do this calculus about if you were to switch these players from different teams. And I think the closest is Fee to A'ja in terms of what it might look like. But Cheryl Reeves brings up numbers, and the efficiency of Nafisa Collier has been off the charts all season. But when you look at some of the other numbers in terms of blocks, points, rebounds, A'ja just does have an edge. And while I think her numbers were going a little bit under the radar to start the season because of the Aces' slow start, when you actually dig into them, they were there. And so this is a really, really, really tough one. I'm curious to see how it unfolds.
I mean, A'ja Wilson's number one in win shares. She's number one in player efficiency. She's number one in points scored. And they won 16 in a row. And she's one of the best defensive players. Could get a lot of votes for Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is really close, but I think games played does matter here. And if this was the NBA award, he might not be eligible.
And despite us saying this, I'm going to reveal who I vote for right now. I believe this is going to be close. Talking to folks around the league, voters are very, very torn here. And I've heard of votes for Fee, and I have heard of votes for A'ja here. So I am very curious to see how it is all going to be totaled. Like Monica, I was tortured up till 11:59.
We were texting about it.
We were texting about it last night. I believe in transparency, though, and so I just want to put my ballot out there and show not just who I voted for MVP, but here is who I voted for across the board. I voted for A'ja Wilson. Again, Monica, for me, it came down to games played for most valuable player. I did vote for Paige Beckers for the Rookie of the Year. Gabby Williams got my Defensive Player of the Year award. Veronica Burton for my most improved player. And then I had to give the nod to Natisha Heidemann here for the Sixth Player of the Year award. I'm going to put my full ballot online. Again, I believe in this transparency, but this is who I voted for. This was a torture.
Oh, and Coach of the Year, Natalie Nakase.
And Coach of the Year, yes, Natalie Nakase. The WNBA playoffs, they tip off on Sunday. At least, Monica, we can exhale a little bit. We got our part done there. Once again, we'll have all 4 first-round games here on the ESPN family of networks. Same format as the last couple of years, best of 3 in each series. The Valkyries, the Lynx, they begin at 1 o'clock Eastern. That's on ESPN. Fever Dream at 3 on ABC. Liberty Mercury coverage starts at 5 Eastern on ESPN. The Aces and the Storm, they tip off at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. All 4 also available on the all-new ESPN app.